Imagine a world where, almost overnight, half the people you know are gone. Between 1347 and 1351, the Black Death swept across Europe, killing nearly 50 million people. That is as if every single person in a huge country suddenly disappeared. It was one of the deadliest events in human history. No one was prepared for the terror that came. Towns lost mothers, fathers, children, grandparents. People watched their neighbors and friends fall ill, and while many fell themselves. And the plague did not care if you were rich or poor or young or old. It marched through cities and villages, leaving sadness and fear. This story is not just about numbers. It is about the real lives behind those numbers. It is about how people tried to survive, how they changed, what they learned. The Black Death changed the course of history forever, and its shadow can still be seen today. As we journey through this chilling tale, remember, every statistic is a story. Every life lost was someone's friend, parent, child. Let us step back in time and see how it all began. In the late Middle Ages, Europe was a land of crowded cities, noisy markets, busy ships. People lived close together in small houses, winding streets. The air was filled with the sounds of horses, merchants, and laughter. Ships arrived each day, goods from Asia, goods from Africa. Trade was booming. Spices, silk, and gold-filled market stalls. Venice, London, Paris grew larger every year. People flocked to cities hoping for work and adventure. Rivers and roads were always busy with travelers and traders. But with these crowds came new problems. Many cities were dirty. Waste piled up in the streets, waste from people and waste from animals. Rats scurried everywhere, searching for food in the rubbish. Fleas lived on the rats, and sometimes jumped onto people and their pets. No one knew these streets and ships would become the perfect pathway for a deadly disease. Europe was a web of connections, and soon something unseen would travel along those threads. The true villain behind the Black Death was a tiny germ called Yersinia pestis. This bacteria was too small to see, but it could kill whole families and villages. It traveled silently, hiding inside fleas that lived on black rats. The rats, in turn, lived among people in their homes, on ships, and in city alleys. The deadly journey usually began in Asia, when their wild rodents carried the bacteria. Fleas bit the sick rodents and picked up the germs. Sometimes rats climbed onto ships, heading for Europe. They brought their fleas with them, tucked away in fur and nests. When these ships sailed into European ports, the rats and their fleas leapt off and spread through the city. Fleas bit people, passing the bacteria into their blood. Soon, the unseen killer was everywhere. Most people did not know about germs or fleas. They only saw friends and family getting sick. The disease moved quietly at first, but once it took hold, it was almost impossible to stop. It would soon sweep across the continent, leaving fear and death in its wake. It all began with a few ships docking at a Sicilian port in 1347. People on board were already sick with strange swellings and high fevers. As they landed, death followed them into the city. The disease spread quickly from one person to another, like fire jumping from house to house. From Sicily, the Black Death raced across Italy, France, Spain. Visual: a map showing the spread across Europe, arrows tracing its deadly route. It traveled along trade routes, on ships, in carts, along busy roads. Messengers, traders, soldiers carried it unknowingly from town to town. Even faraway villages could not escape. Each day, more people fell ill. The sick were too weak to work or even stand. Families locked their doors, hoping to keep the plague outside, but nothing seemed to help. The disease did not care about borders or walls. It spread from city to city, reaching England, Germany, and beyond. By the time people realized what was happening, it was too late. In less than 5 years, the Black Death had swept across nearly all of Europe, leaving millions dead in its path. The symptoms of the Black Death were terrifying. It began with a sudden fever and chills. Soon people felt weak and tired, unable to move. Then came the black swellings, large painful lumps under the arms, on the neck, in the groin. These were called buboes. The swellings turned dark purple or black, giving the plague its name. Some people coughed up blood or developed strange rashes. Many died within just a few days. There was no cure, and doctors did not know what caused it. Fear filled every home and street. Families watched their loved ones suffer, powerless to help. People hurried past their sick neighbors, afraid to catch the illness. The sound of church bells rang out day and night, marking each new death. Even priests and doctors were struck down. Many believed the plague was a punishment from God, or a sign of the end of the world. With so much sickness and fear, hope seemed to vanish. As the plague spread, daily life changed in shocking ways. Many people just stopped going to work, and shops closed down. Fields went unplowed, and crops simply rotted. With fewer people to help, food became scarce, and hunger spread, along with fear. Churches were crowded with people, praying for help. Others lost faith, questioning why God would allow such suffering. Some people blamed strangers or other groups. This led to anger and even violence in some towns. Art and stories began to change. Painters drew images of skeletons and death dancing through the streets. Songs and poems told tales of sadness and loss. People wore charms or carried flowers, hoping to protect themselves from the invisible enemy. In the chaos, some people showed great kindness, caring for the sick and sharing what little they had. Others turned away, hoping only to save themselves. The world felt upside down, and nothing seemed certain anymore. The Black Death did not just take lives, it changed how people lived, worked, and thought. With so many people gone, there were just not enough workers to harvest crops or build homes. Lords needed workers and paid higher wages, giving peasants new power and freedom. Art became darker and more serious. Paintings and sculptures showed death and sadness, but also hope and bravery. Writers and thinkers began to ask new questions about life and death. Old traditions faded and new ideas grew. In the Church power, people began to trust their own ideas about faith and health, and some turned to science, looking for natural explanations instead of only prayers, and this would help spark new discoveries in the years to come. Society slowly rebuilt itself. Out of the darkness, Europe would find new ways to live, work, and create. After years of suffering, the Black Death slowly faded. No one is sure exactly why. Some think the bacteria changed or that people grew stronger. Others believe the cold winters killed many fleas and killed many rats. Better hygiene, small changes in medicine helped too. Survivors learned hard lessons. Doctors began to study diseases more closely. Towns started to clean their streets, keep animals away from homes. Some places built quarantine houses where the sick could be kept away from the healthy. These ideas helped stop other diseases in the future. The memory of the plague never left. People told stories, wrote books to remember what had happened. Scientists searched for cures, new ways to treat sickness. The Black Death showed how important it was to understand health and medicine. Though the plague was over, it had changed Europe forever. The lessons learned would help save lives for centuries to come. The story of the Black Death is a warning and a lesson. It shows how quickly life can change and how strong people can be in hard times. Though millions died, people found ways to survive, rebuild, and learn from their pain. History teaches us to watch for danger and to care for each other. By remembering the Black Death, we understand the power of disease and the power of hope. Today, doctors and scientists work to keep us safe from new sicknesses. They use the lessons learned from the past. When we study history, we do not just remember sadness and fear. We remember courage, kindness, and the ways people worked together. The Black Death was one of the darkest times in Europe, but it also showed the light of human strength. As we close this story, remember, we can all learn from the past. By doing so, we help build a safer and wiser world for everyone.